As soon as I was old enough to walk, my parents bought me my first guitar. On that very day, I knew in my heart that all I wanted from that point on was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Okay, maybe minus the sex and drugs, but I kept with music throughout my childhood and never stopped dreaming of one day becoming a rock star. I remember my dad taking me to my first concert. I think it was Ted Nugent. But I was completely in love with the whole atmosphere. The lights, the giant stage, the adoring fans. I couldn't believe that there were people actually doing that for a living. I needed it, and I was determined to make it big. My first notable band was a 14-piece crew. We toured throughout Florida, and we were even offered a record deal. Unfortunately, I had to turn it down after getting accepted to college. Consequently, the band broke up, but the dream was still alive. I still continued to record music, and I played shows, and I even DJ'd at some pretty neat clubs. Now, nearing graduation, I'll finally have the opportunity to give it a shot at making it big. I have to ask myself though, what does that even mean anymore? A really important factor is that the music industry is nothing like it was back when I was strumming my guitar at age 4. The turn of the century saw the popularity and increasing accessibility of some of the most incredible technology. We've entered the digital age, and things are drastically different.
I analogize it to shoplifting.
Help us stop piracy. Let's terminate it.
Well, it could be a social thing among your friends to shoplift as well, but it doesn't make it right. I'm just wondering why you thought it was right.
Because I have never stolen a CD from a store. I've never done that, and these are different things inherently.
What's the difference?
Well, I'm glad you asked, John. So, for example, if nothing else, the amount of work that you have to go through to steal something from a store, you have to go in and sneak it out.
As for statistics, yeah, I mean, the RA puts out crazy numbers every year about how massively damaging piracy is. The numbers they put out range from wildly exaggerated to completely made up, and they had really just come out of nowhere. They had really been made up with no basis and been repeated by the FBI and the customs and legislators. I just don't take any claims they make about the magnitude of the harm at face value anymore.
A college student who admitted downloading and sharing music with his friends just got hit with a staggering verdict of $675,000, $22,500 per song.
When I find myself in need of music, pirate bay used to come to me. A million songs to pirate down on me. In your room or during class, bring your laptops, make it fast. Media fire, alarm wire, down on me. Down on me, down on me, down on me, down on me. From YouTube to MP3, down on me.
still now with like with YouTube and and all the social networks. I mean, everything's out there now. In this day and age, I don't really see it as stealing. By law it is, but in a sense,
Don't tell Lars Metallica.
It was about control. It was about control, and that control got taken away from us. We're definitely control freaks, and we like to control.
Why are you gonna be a little pissed? Little baby. You should get your guitar and shred a solo instead.
And here's a big shocker. It's being backed by both the recording industry and the Motion Picture Association. And according to them, net sales of CDs fell 82% in the last decade. But I just have to wonder, aren't there other ways to combat piracy than stripping away your constitutional rights?
Yeah, I mean, this actually feels like an industry that has not really come to terms with the fact that it enjoyed this incredible boom in the 90s when lots of people were rebuying their entire vinyl and cassette collections on CD. And that once that was sort of done and people could just transfer their CDs to a digital form, that kind of boom of people rebuying a whole collection again when formats changed just wasn't going to happen again. So they're sort of failing to come to grips with this and trying to pretend that somehow if they can, sort of clap hard enough and stamp out piracy, the industry will be saved. But as for statistics, yeah, I mean, the RA puts out crazy numbers every year about how massively damaging piracy is. At this point, I think if the RIAA claimed it were 2011, I'd double-check a calendar. The numbers they put out range from wildly exaggerated to completely made up, and they had really just come out of nowhere. They had really been made up with no basis and been repeated by the FBI and customs and legislators. So I just don't take any claims they make about the magnitude of the harm at face value anymore.
Well, it could be the most expensive download on record, more than $22,000 for one song. A college student who admitted downloading and sharing music with his friends just got hit with a staggering verdict of $675,000, which breaks down to an astonishing $22,500 per song.
Well, it was the same sort of thing. It was Napster went down, and there were still platforms out there that I could get free music on. This was something that I was used to doing. It was sort of a bit of a social thing with my friends in terms of getting the music that I got, and I think I've explored a lot of music this way I wouldn't have gotten a chance to otherwise explore.
Right. Well, I mean, it could be a social thing among your friends. But Joel, it could be a social thing among your friends to shoplift as well, but it doesn't make it right. I'm just wondering why you thought it was right.
I don't think, because I have never stolen a CD from a store. I've never done that, and these are different things inherently if for no other reason.
What's the difference?
Sure, I'm glad you asked, John. So, for example, if nothing else, the amount of work that you have to go through to steal something from a store, you have to go in and sneak it out and I guess,
so
run
because it's easier, it's okay?
And this is... Well, hold on, let me just, so, I don't know, this is something that I think just came naturally to so many people in the same situation as me, whereas shoplifting isn't something that does. And so, even if that point doesn't, convince you, I think if you take polls of people, the vast majority of people do see these as inherently different things, that copying something, that sharing something online which is infinitely duplicable and there right in front of you and natural is different from going into a store and then like sneaking out of it.
But perception, you've got a lot of pushback from the artists here saying that downloading music on the internet for free is just plain and simple wrong.
Yes, John, but you haven't quoted Trent Reznor, Radiohead.
$675,000, $22,500 per song. Where are you going to get the money?
Well, I don't have the money for that. I don't have the money for even any appreciable fraction of that. I really have no choice at this point but to declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
The RIAA aren't going to get that much money, and the artists aren't getting money. I mean, the only people making money here are the lawyers. The RIAA is losing customers. The artists aren't getting any money out of this. The RIAA has said this is a money-losing campaign, and my generation is just getting alienated and I think, you know, kind of screwed in the whole process.
We're fighting an abusive court. We're fighting record labels that are actually fighting the internet. There's a generation that, or the internet has come about, and music is available on the internet. And rather than fighting an old business model that doesn't work, we're fighting back and saying it's time you create a new revenue stream and you embrace the internet rather than fight it.
One of the 50 pre-litigation letters in March. The recording industry is threatening her with a lawsuit unless she pays a $3,000 settlement. To protect her identity, the student has asked to remain anonymous. We asked about her initial reaction to the letter.
Okay. What was your reaction after the initial reaction?
Well, I really think the industry's methods are wrong. They can't expect to sue away illegal file sharing. I mean, there have been over 18,000 lawsuits, and it keeps growing in popularity.
There are still some students, however, who continue to file share despite the potential consequences.
Right. According to CNET, major internet service providers like Comcast, Cablevision, Verizon, Time Warner Cable, and more, they've all been secretly plotting behind closed doors with the RIAA and the MPAA to find a way to stop copyright infringement. And apparently they've been plotting this since last July, proving that these people know how to keep a secret. That is until this week, when the RIAA CEO, Carrie Sherman, decided to spill the beans and revealed that the major ISPs will all be on the same page and ready to attack by this summer. This, even though there's ample evidence that policing the web for pirates isn't the best way to handle this issue, but, of course, not surprisingly, Sherman doesn't see it that way. And just to show how thoroughly they've worked out their plan, there's even a penalty system that's going to be implemented called mitigation measures.